Hello and welcome to another Cheltenham Festival preview. This one's a slightly different take. I'm joined by Allan, the founder, owner, manager of Super Stable Fantasy Horse Racing, which is a free-to-play game. It is a really, really good incentive. It's slightly different to the way that other ones work. I think the Telegraph do something else as well, but this one's much better. The horses are put into pots as opposed to the races. I'll be useless at explaining that, Allan. So if you could just give us a quick run through of what Fantasy Horse Racing Super Stable is, and then we'll get on to look at the races. Oh, and first of all, thank you very much for joining me. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. We have a season league and a week league, obviously building up to Fantasy Cheltenham or Fantasy Cheltenmental, we'll call your league that. All the horses are going to be put into tiers. So it won't be every horse, all the top horses will be put into tiers. So tier 1 will be your best horses, tier 2, 3 and 4. You'll pick a stable of 13 horses and they'll accumulate points every time they run. Wherever they finish is dependent on the class of the race. So obviously a Group 1 is better than the handicaps, and you get SP bonus points as well. So obviously it might be better to try and take ones at bigger prices to take on favourites that are vulnerable. So it's good fun. You accumulate the points over the 4 days, a couple of transfer windows. So you can make changes each night as well to your stable, keep it fresh, and whoever comes out on top wins. We do that every week, so it's good fun. Yeah. But really looking forward to it. I love Cheltenham. It's Christmas, isn't it? It's just Christmas. Oh, I can't wait.
It really is. And I know a lot of people get against it because of the fact that they say it's not all about 1 week's racing. And we all know it isn't just about this week's racing, but it is nice that they've all got something to aim for. Just means that the weeks and weeks of enjoyment of watching it actually transpires into something a bit bigger. So when the Super Stable Fantasy Horse Racing is open, you mentioned that there'll be a couple of transfer windows. If you fancy doing it, could you just make your selections for the whole week on the first day of it opening?
Yeah, you could. You could make your selections. That's it. Leave it. See what happens. But obviously, people are going to want to get properly involved there because they can make two. So we'll have 2 transfers each night. So you could, if you had one of your stable star had ran, they're worth your triple points horses. If that had ran, obviously you'd want to swap. So you could have a stable star in each day, but there'll be more than one stable star running each day, if that makes sense. So you've got to use your wits about you there, and then obviously you can transfer another horse. You don't have to transfer in horses, but obviously load your stable for day 1. You then start moving out horses the next day. Move. So you've always got something running for you throughout the week. But if you want to be tactical, you can bang them in and hope for the best.
Oh, lovely. So, yeah.
I'll stick up explainer videos and that'll explain everything about it, how it'll all work. They'll do one about selecting your stable, one about how the transfers will work. I'll do little videos each morning as well, off work as well. So, there'll be loads of stuff. The Facebook page as well. Just follow the Fantasy Horse Racing page or Fantasy Race page. There'll just be loads of stuff up there. And I'll try to make it as simple as I can when it comes out, and hopefully we'll get a good battle.
Perfect. And then obviously it's not just Cheltenham you do it for. You do it every week. So Aintree, Punchestown festivals would be special ones, I guess, as well. Maybe.
Yeah. We do special ones for obviously the Grand National Festival. I do it through the flat season as well. So we have Royal Ascot, Goodwood, the Ebor Festival, things like that. And then when we come back, I always do a Cheltenham. So whenever Cheltenham's on, we have a special. But every Saturday I do a 13 to follow. And it's just a condensed version over 1 day. Same thing, same way it works. A tier system, covering 4 races on ITV. So you pick your stables to do that every week. And then there's the season league, and that's where the transfer windows come into play on that. So that's basically just fantasy football is the season league. Swap your team about. So that's for the long game.
Perfect. So yeah, there's lots for people to get stuck into once they've tried.
Yeah.
And obviously you're not going anywhere anytime soon, so there'll be plenty of it going on for years.
Yeah, I love doing it. I just love it, and I'd really love to get a community going and get people involved and having a chat and talking about it. Because I love doing it. I got a bit downhearted coming into Christmas. You get a bit like, oh. But I've just been rejuvenated by it and getting to know yourself and people like that. you're meeting racing fans yourself and
Yeah.
doing things like this. I never thought I'd be doing things like this a year ago. So I just want to give something so racing fans can enjoy it and they don't have to bet. I've got a few people on it that don't gamble, but they play the game because they're getting the same thrill. So, well, not the same thrill, but you know what I mean.
But, and that's exactly right. There's loads of people, especially on the Cheltenham Mental page, that they follow it because it's horse races, it's nice. You don't have to have a bet to enjoy the festival. You don't have to have a bet to enjoy weekend racing. But something like this, little free way to play. And the beauty of the way you do it with the tiers is you can have a couple of selections in certain races as well to get yourself some cover. So it's a beauty. What we'll do now is we'll skim through just the grade ones for the festival. So we've got a bit of an insight for some of the people that might watch this. We'll leave the handicaps to the lower graded stuff just because there's a preview on and we are the absolute experts of grade ones. So without further ado, we'll start off with the Supreme on the Tuesday. I've made it quite obvious, I think, on a few videos about a couple of horses that I've liked in here over the course of the season. So on each of these races, best just kick off with where your head's at, what you fancy in the race and what you might be thinking of doing for the Super Stable.
Magic.
So take it away, Supreme. Tuesday, first race.
I've been banging to Abracadabra. I've said that a few times. I really like that horse. My worry with him coming to Cheltenham, though, is he travels. He just when Envoy Allan beat him, he travelled. They came to last, and Envoy was gone. My worry with him is he going to get up that hill? When he hits the hill, if he travel that well, quite often they'll hit that hill. Stride can't lengthen their stride. He's a short striding horse. I'd be interested if he went to entry. I'd be more interested in him at entry. But he's been on my mind all season because I knew Envoy Allan was likely to go the other way. I can't have Shishkin. I can't have a horse that's fallen. I know it was a weak fall, but I can't have a horse that's fallen coming into this because they're going to be tested. The one I've started to lean towards is, and I don't know if he's going here or elsewhere, is this Asterion Phalange.
Yeah.
I think he has the form coming into it. He has the right. He fits the Supreme winner category here. There was a time where you wouldn't want him just having had 2 runs over a hurdle, so that seems to be the trends there are changing. We seem to be seeing that more regular. He's the one I'm landing on. I hope he goes here. I'm not 100% sure he will though, but that would be my selection there. That and I'd stick with Abracadabra because I think he would pick you up points. Yeah. Because remember, it's not about winning. You get points down to 4th place. It's about picking up points. So they'd probably be my 2. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think because Willie Mullins had his stable tour, obviously with all the comments that come from the trainers, it's still pinch of salt this time of year. But he sounds like they are leaning that way with Asterion Phalange. He's the one that I'm really, really excited to see at Cheltenham, just because I wouldn't say he's the most confident horse I'm in for Cheltenham, but if it does all click and he does take to Cheltenham, I think we're seeing the birth of a new Cheltenham Festival superstar. The one niggle in doubt I've got with him, as much as I always talk about his good things, it's worth having a look at his flaws as well. He does jump right-handed, not like ridiculous. It's not cost him his last 2 races, but it is enough that
it gets you wide on that home turn, doesn't it? Desert Orchid used to do it, and it gets you wide coming round the turn. But they do like when it's soft, they like coming up that rail.
Yeah, and that's the thing with it. There's maybe he'll be straight when he gets to Cheltenham. He's only had the 2 spins over hurdles. Paul Townend will be back on for the Supreme, so he's a front-running performer. I think there's lots to like about him, but I wouldn't be adamantly sold. But then for a Supreme, you never really can be. It's easy to look back and see Altior won there, but I was in the Min camp that year. Can't always get it right. Abracadabra is the one that I fall on for the stats, all those bits and pieces, but I still just can't get away with how he ran up the hill in the bumper last year. You hit the nail on the head.
Right there. Yeah. He was there with him last time, and he was there like he had a chance, and he just didn't go with him. And it's the same when he beat him the other time, and he's come out and won, so he's proved he's the real deal. I think entry might be a better. Whether they went there with him, I don't know, but.
And that's what Gigginstown did last year, and Gordon had it as well with Felix de G, so he was quite fancy for a Supreme. I always touch on it as well. Gigginstown don't do so great in the 2-mile races at the festival, especially things like the Supreme, the Arkle. They'll often have a fancied runner. Shishkin, I'm the same as you. That not so much just because of the fall, but horses that haven't even run in a graded competition could win in the Supreme. It's the class aspects of it as well.
That's the other. A listed winner around Huntington. You know, he hasn't beaten anyone. What's he actually done? He doesn't deserve to. He doesn't deserve to be that price anyway. Ahead of the ones that he's ahead of.
Yeah, and I think you can see, like, because he's obviously been so impressive in his wins, and he could do it. Nicky Henderson's coming out now saying that he's, like, he reminds you of Altior. He's going to win the Arkle next year before he's even won this Supreme. So the vibes are quite strong, but I mention it every year with Nicky Henderson because he doesn't always win the Supreme. Flown, he won it with in 1992, was the last horse to wear headgear in the Supreme. He's won it once since, and that was with Altior. I think he's had 33 or 36 runners since. This will be another one, and he'll have a couple in the field as well.
Spencer Sacker was beaten in it. He's third, wasn't he?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Nicky Henderson has loads of decent horses in him. There's loads of horses that run really well. Even Bouverdare placed in behind Altior. So maybe Shishkin will run well without winning. And obviously the price that he is, and we're talking about from a stable perspective, I wouldn't want to be risking him at a short price, considering he might not win it basically. Fiddler on the Roof's interesting, but he would be another one that's short enough for my liking. His 2 good wins have come at Sandown, but before that, you know, the form's a little bit.
He like the ground, though. He will like the ground. If he comes up soft, he will like that.
Yeah, and that's a perk for him. Chantry House, Sporting John, we're not sure where they're going to split them, but the market suggests that Chantry House will come here and Sporting John will go for the Ballymore. I would prefer to see him the other way around, but I don't think either of those are going to be winning. Again, there's no graded form in there. Captain Guinness will be popular, I think, in the Super Stable because he's a bigger price, but he's only had a couple of runs. One that I do think will be overlooked, and anyone that watches the video will be able to pick up some points with me on this, is Soviet Pimpernel. So he won a Grade 3 last time. He would have won the Masterson's Holding Hurdle at Cheltenham if Kevin Sexton wasn't riding him. No disrespect to him, but he hasn't had enough experience around Cheltenham. Harry Cobden just rode him to sleep that day. He wasn't beaten very far. He wouldn't be a 33-1 poke, I don't think. He's now been bought by Rob Kerr. Don't know who will be riding him, but potentially they could be a better jockey. Rachel Blackmore will probably be on Captain Guinness, and obviously Robbie Power will be on Fiddler on the Roof. But I just think Soviet Pimpernel, someone could pick up a nice little spare on that. Even someone like a Richard Johnson might end up riding a horse like this. And I just think at a big price, he could surprise a few people. Do you like him?
He is my one that I was going to say at a price. He will be in. He's likely to be in Tier 4. Now you see how this works now. As you get down to, you'll have your top couple from each race. So your Tier 4 aren't your bags down the bottom. He's likely to be in Tier 4, and this would be a lush one to have in there. He is. I think he's bang there, and at 25-1, you're getting the max bonus points. 5 points if he finishes in the top 4. That turns to 20 points if he wins it. Bonus points. So he would be one. Yeah, from a Tier 4 horse, and he's one that I would like from an each-way punt as well.
Beautiful.
I don't think he could win, but as an each-way punt, I think it's 25-1 he is just now.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Unless there was some sort of unfortunate mishap or anything like that, I wouldn't be silly enough to think that he actually could win the Supreme. But I genuinely do think he'll be there or thereabouts, sort of like an itchy feet again from last year. So Supreme, we've nailed it there. We've got a couple of winners. And the beauty is, from the different tiers as well, you can get multiple horses in from the same race, can't you?
Yeah, you could fill it up with Supreme horses. Well, not quite, but you know what I mean. You get 3 from each pot, so you could have bang bang bang. You could have mostly Supreme horses in there. Sit back, enjoy your week, and see what happens. But I don't think you'd be winning.
So we're happy to move on to the Arkle now.
Go for it.
Beautiful. So again, I'd rather let you say your piece first, otherwise I'll just waffle away for hours. But obviously we've got Notebook head in the market. Seems to be shortening up as we're getting closer and closer to the festival. Another Gigginstown 2-miler, so that's a slight niggle for me. But what do you make of the race? Who do you think is probably the likely winner?
Notebook. Put a picture up on Facebook earlier. You saw it quickly. I put my Arkle notes in the Supreme. And it says, "Fucker, dude, this is a terrible race for 5-year-olds." And now I know the age starts they have to be broken, but I view this as a 5-year-old taking on 7-year-olds, 6-year-olds, going at that speed. That's why I don't think 5-year-olds win this. They're open, and so if he went there, he would make no interest to me because he would just be. He didn't beat Notebook last time. I can't see any reason why he would. And he's going to be tested round there. Mr. Fisher's not. He's Admiral, and I don't think he's up to this. I just can't get away from Notebook. myself, and very unoriginal. But I mean, here's the thing though, Dave. Notebook will be a stable star more likely, so there'll be 2 stable stars each day. So he may well be the stable star. So then you've got to choose between him and several. There'll be 6 horses altogether. Your stable star. No, 2, 4, 6, 8 horses altogether. Stable star. So that's how it works as well. So he may not be available in pot 1. He may be in pot 5, where there's only 8 to choose from, but they're worth triple points. So would you be willing to stick him in as a stable car, triple points?
Potentially. See, I like Notebook. I could definitely see him winning an Arkle, but the Gigginstown line, it's a bit of a trivial one because it's an owner thing, isn't it? But that puts me off a little. He was really.
But all he would need is place. Remember, triple points. So all he would need, and I think he's more likely to get placed in something in the Supreme at the moment. Just looking at that Supreme's a clusterfuck. But looking at this, it's if you're looking at it as a point scoring thing, he's likely to be there, isn't he? So
yeah, you'd think so. The only slight concern is he was really keen at Down Road Festival, or Dublin Racing Festival, sorry. And then I watched back the prelims of the Ballymore last year, and the camera was watching Battle Over Doyen coming out because he was the favourite, the Gigginstown one that they all fancied, and Notebook just flew out the chute past him. And the dog likes Notebook.
Go away.
But yeah, so Notebook flew out the chute. The camera a nice little look as well. He was really keen, and that's something that he will need to not do when he gets to the Cheltenham Festival, given the fact that he doesn't want to exude too much energy before the race starts. It can be a little bit fractious in the prelims, but I don't think the field will be big enough for it to be too much of a problem. But yeah, there's a little niggle about him just because of the price. But from a points perspective, he'll be out. I do think Brewing Up a Storm, I saw he was on your notepad as well. Brewing Up a Storm, I mean, it does lack the extra run that I think Ollie Murphy wanted, but he just looks to me like probably the best of the British.
There's not a lot of good British in there, though, is there? That's just what I've been saying. The Irish are all over us in these novice chases, I think, at the minute. No, he doesn't appeal to me. Brewing Up a Storm. He had the fault. He's not Luke. Do you know what I mean? You've never watched him and thought, Jesus Christ, that's going to win an Arkle. I haven't.
Yeah,
but I have it. That's what I'm saying. I have with Notebook. I've watched Notebook and thought, bloody hell, that's.
See, I could be slightly, probably tilted towards this because at the beginning of the season, my 2 for the Arkle were Melon and Brewing Up a Storm. So the fact that Brewing Up a Storm's made it here now with much fewer pitfalls than Melon, who's probably going to go to the Marsh anyway. I do still think he's got a chance. It is all about Notebook. Just the only thing with Notebook is he started his season earlier than a lot of the other horses in October. But I think the last 6 or 7, or maybe even 8, started their seasons in November or later. But if you go back a bit further than that, Captain Chris and the few horses before that, they all started in October. So it's not that he's been going on too long. Maybe he might plateau a little bit, but looking at the state of this race, it doesn't look like it's going to take too much with him. So yeah, he's hard to get away from, really, isn't he?
Only the 4 runs as well. Do you know what I mean? It's Jesus. When have we got to the point where we're saying 4 runs is a long season? You know what I mean? That used to be the normal. These two come back in October. They are wrapped up a bit now. If this one likes running and it likes running, just keep it going.
Absolutely.
Good to see, actually.
Yeah. So we've got the Arkle pretty much nailed, I think, there. We'll move on to the Champion Hurdle. This one, hopefully, will get a bit more of a... I don't know. I feel like I've gone through the race a few times and I could see probably a handful of horses that I'd give a genuine chance to of winning it. There's a couple in there that I just couldn't have at all, but it looks like it's quite open. I'd just be interested to know who you might have pitched it down to. Have you got a couple that you like? One? A few?
Right. The way I've been looking at this race, because this is another clusterfuck. So the way I've been looking at it, when you look back and you watch them and you think, right, which has been the closest to Champion Hurdle performance, right? Honeysuckle last time out, that was good. She proved herself there. Does she come? We're not sure what's going to happen. Are we? She hasn't. That's not been decided yet, has it? The Honeysuckle. Last minute. They should go here. I think if she goes here, she might go favourite. Actually.
Agreed.
3 Zero Raffles, that's running there, meant to be running this weekend, but the pull up So he needs to settle a bit. But so we'll find out a bit more about him at the weekend if he runs. Pentland Hills cannot have it. I know there's something that he just doesn't see his race. He either need to be put there right on the line because he's just not finishing his races. Super Sunday, no. Thomas Derby, no. So you're saying the best, who's putting the most in it, and it probably is a Christmas hurdle win of Epitaph. But he hasn't been seen since then, and that's quite a break.
So day 2 kicks off with the Ballymore. Tuesday kicks off with a novice hurdle. Wednesday kicks off with a novice hurdle too. And probably one of the biggest talking horses of this season's National Hunt season, really. Envoy Allan, done nothing wrong. Has looked a little bit workmanlike in 3 of his races, but he really does set the standard here. How do you suggest, Allan, in this competition that we can make the most advantage of Envoy Allan, or do we have to be looking for something at a price maybe, or how do we play it?
Nailed it. Boom. That's how you play the game. Now, Envoy Allan will be in pot 5. He will be a stable star, so he'll be one of 2 from the Wednesday. So we'll have 1 from the championship each race, and we'll have 1 novice each day. So Envoy Allan will be the stable star for the novices on the Wednesday. I'm sure he'll be massively popular. He'll be odds on, so you're not going to get any bonus points. So if he wins, which I think he will, you'll get the flat 9. Yeah, you'll get the 90 times by 3. I wouldn't put him in my stable for that reason. I would go sniffing around, see if you could find find one that's. If you find one that's 2 to 1, you're going to get extra. You're going to get triple bonus plus. You're going to get added 20 points on top of your score. So you know what I mean. You can sniff around. You can find one. It's the same as betting. You're going to get more for your return. So you're going to get the bonus points. If he's odds on, you'll get 90 times 3, 270 points. But if you can find one where you're getting the bonus points there times by 3 as well. So that's exactly the way to play the game, yeah.
So is there anyone that sort of sticks out a bigger price? Because I've had a look at this race a good few times. It's tricky to really find something strong to take him on with. I think Willie Mullins is going to run the big getaway. Not sure where the big breakaway goes, but I think he's going to come here. And then there's a few that seem like they're going to be going for the Albert Bartlett, the likes of Latest Exhibition, Harry Senior, horses like that. So is there anything that's jumped out as you that you think might be worth sticking in there?
What do we think about Longhouse Poet? Is that going here? Do we know? Again, but he sniffed around. He's been in the right. Do you know what I mean? He's been beaten, but he won't be winning. But he could be sniffing around. And again, this would be a tier 4 where you could say you might pick up points for that. And he's not going to be short odds, I wouldn't have thought. So a bit of a price, and as well, you know, looking at, as I say, he's been sniffing about. So.
That's fair
no way he will win it, but he might be picking up points, maybe.
Yeah, and that's probably a good way to play it. And as we've mentioned in the first part of it, that because you do the tiers, it may be that there's something in a tier 4 or tier 3. There might be a couple from the Ballymore that are in there, so you might be able to play a couple of darts if you fancied. On to the RSA, where we haven't got quite as a short price favourite. Champ obviously fell on his last start, which is really not ideal preparation coming into it, but he's been so hyped up, given the fact he's named after AP McCoy. They're all well involved in it. There's no way he's going to be lacking for experience coming in here. I still do think that he is the horse to beat in the RSA, so I think the market is right with him. Depends where Willie Mullins goes with Allaho. He's talking about sending him here. I know a lot of people like him, but I would think he's got a better chance than a JLT. But again, this could be another race where there's going to be a few places up for grabs. I would imagine that towards the front of the market, we could get a few horses, maybe not running, so obviously the prices will change a little bit, but there might be some value in it. What do you make of the race?
Right. Champ, he won't be on his own like that when he falls in this race. That's not going to happen. So he's not. I think he lost concentration. He pottered about. But he had that incident at Newbury as well, didn't he? When he was just about, when he went to the elbow. Was it his fault or was it Barry's fault? You know. But this I like my stats, and he's only 2 8-year-old winners have won it this since 2000. This year 2000, only 2 8 8 year olds have won. Champ has never actually won at Cheltenham. He fell. 2 8 8 year olds have won it this year 2000, only 2 8 year olds have won. This year 2000, only 2 8 year olds have won at Cheltenham. He fell. 2 8 8 year olds have won it this year 2000, only 2 8 year olds have won at Cheltenham. He fell Now I know, as I say, he's not going to be losing concentration in a race like this, but there's just a few negatives against him. And I was all on board until the incident with the elbow happened, and you thought, and then I mean, there's enough there to make you think. And then that swings me to Manila Indo. I like that. I think that's the one. I think the beat that captain CJ, and it went on to win the 10 up chase at grade 2. So the form there, it just looked the real deal that last day. And that's the one I would fancy. Rachel Blackmore will be on, I think. So yeah, that would do for me. And that's the one I'd be sticking in there from. He'll be a tier 1. So probably a tier 1. So you'd be sticking that one in for the 90 points there.
And that's the beautiful thing as well, because it does go off of SP as well. There's extra points for that as well, isn't there? So for something like a Manila Indo that's going to probably be about 4-1 poke, is the best part of being a favourite anyway, but you're still getting extra value because you're getting a slightly bigger price on it.
Because Champ will likely go off favourite for that. But I mean, is he not? Is he going to go for one of those not champion, jumpers, bumpers, isn't he? I think he was talking about putting him in a jumpers bumper because there's a couple tomorrow. But
I've seen on the blind side ended up in one. But maybe
I think that was a whisper. That was a whisper. So.
Oh God. Well, he's definitely quirky enough this season. Like you say, that incident at Newbury and then falling, there's enough probably to take him on. I still like.
You wouldn't want to back him without going into this with a fall. You'd like him to go for one of these jumper bumpers and And
that's the beauty of it. The fact that from a punting perspective, I'm already invested in Champ. I've got a few bits and pieces on other horses, but I'd still like to think that Champ could win it. Whereas you're coming into this super stable, you haven't got any influence from what you've done throughout the season. You're literally just looking at it from a form perspective, and you probably end up making smarter choices if you don't listen to me, I suppose. So the Queen Mother Champion Chase, the first 3 places are probably going to be split by these first 3 in the bet, and it looks like that way anyway to me. Chacun Poursoir's got to prove it at Cheltenham. Definitely does look like the form horse, and we've done previews before with a couple of other lads, and they do mention that that's the way to be looking at a champion chase. I know you like your stats as well, but I just can't get away from Altior. How could anyone not pick Altior? What do you think?
Well, I've said it a few times on these as well. I think there was a reason they were wanting to step him up. I've said it a few times because all of a sudden it was to go for the King George, but then it started. Gold Cup started getting mentioned before the King George and everything. So he isn't. They obviously don't think he's as quick as he was, and he can't be. He's 10 years old, but the way he kicked on after that fight, I mean, and he hits these flat spots, and you know what? These horses that hit the flat spots, they can last long. Remember Ingles Drever?
Yeah.
They can keep going. They hit these flat spots and they keep going because they're not leaving themselves out there. And he proved that. He was jumping big. He was jumping high, and he took off. And there was a shot. I saw somebody had filmed it. It was on one of the Facebook groups, and it was just somebody from the crowd had filmed it. And as soon as Nico had asked him and he kicked, he actually put his stick right back down. And that was he knew he'd done enough in a couple of strides.
Yeah.
But Defi Desoy, 7-year-old, undersourced, he still has it. It's going to be a belter. It's going to be a belter. Chacun Poursoir. This could be the race of the and it's for different reasons, because you've got the old hero coming back. He's got the question marks. We've seen them answered with the same trainer with Sprinter Sacra. So, but who would I be putting in there? Because I haven't even decided which one will be the stable star here. So you can have both. You could have both if you want. You could have say Altior in the stable star. You could have him as your stable star if you wanted. You could have Defi, who would be in pot 1. So that's the way it works as well. But I haven't decided who's going to be pot 5 yet.
Yeah, fair enough. I think this is the sort of leg. These are probably the sorts of days as well. I do think Envoy Land's going to win. That's a fact as far as I'm concerned. But the players that are looking for the bigger priced value, say something was to happen, something goes amiss with an Envoy Land, you're so much better playing a bigger priced one, because you take it on the chin that he's going to win, but you're not losing too many points. If something did happen to him and he does, and a bigger price one went and won it, you're miles clear. And then in a race like this, you're going to need a little bit of luck. But this could be the sort of leg, I would imagine, that could be shaping yourselves going into the last couple of days. So that's Tuesday.
I think this is going to be this will be a popular. I think a lot of staple stars will come out of this because, as you say, this is day 2. You've tucked yourself in, jockey for position, start creeping through on day 2. This is why if you drop back here, it's a long way home.
But the beautiful thing about anything like this, where it is a competition that's points accumulated and it's over a long period, is that you've still got more time. So if you've had a mare on the first couple of days, you can smash it up on the next couple. And because of the way the point scoring system works, which of course there's stuff on your website already that explains it, but we'll help some people out with a bit more detail on that. If you need to start chasing winners, then you've still got time. We've still got 2 days worth of racing left. One thing I will...
You got your transfers as well. Remember, every day.
Absolutely.
So you can buy these 2 horses. You can come back to these videos and find out what we told you.
It's never too late. And the thing is, because I didn't last year. I did fantasy horse racing last year, and then I never bothered updating any of it. But Manila Indo last year, I was behind on points. I actually fancied it a bit. 50-1 that was. It's the sort of leg that, I mean, you're not going to get many 50-1 winners, but if you get a horse like that going in, that's probably not far off giving you almost guaranteed winning the competition. So there is still plenty of time.
Every week we see it on the 13 to follow. It's very rare it's the same person. Since I've tiered it, when we get to the last race, somebody's lobbed one in, boom, and it puts snicks, and you get all these bonus points. And the leader just completely, somebody that wasn't even in the top 10 just jumped in. So it's exactly as you say. If you take a flyer at one, and especially at Cheltenham, and that's the beauty of it. If you could be thinking, I've got no chance here. I'm down to like 400th place going into the last day. Just put in horses at big odds. Use your transfer. Start putting in outsiders that you think's got a chance. You're going to get the bonus points there.
For Thursday, we start off with the Marsh novice chase. Still taking a bit of getting used to saying that. As far as I'm concerned, it's the JLT. But the Marsh novice chase, again, Willie Mullins had his stable tour come out this week. It seems like all of his horses, bar Allaho, are probably going here. But I would have thought Allaho, considering he's head in the market, looks like he's probably the best chance of the winner in the race for him. He ticks loads of boxes for me, but we'll have to just see nearer the time what goes in there. But every year the Marsh tends to be the same. It looks really competitive. There's quite a few you can make chances for. But I think from a stats perspective, maybe 4 of the last 7 favourites have won, something along those lines. So although it can be a bit peculiar that it looks like it's really competitive, you might end up getting a reasonable priced favourite winning it. What would be your tips on this race, how to play it, Allan? Is there anything in particular you fancy?
Personally, myself, I struggled on this one. I'm not a huge Allaho fan, actually. I struggled with this. It's such a new race, and again, the stats haven't established on it either, so I really struggled to get in here. I'll tell you what, Itchy Feet. He might be in. He won't be in tier 1. He'll be maybe in their tier 2, something like that. I watched that Sandown race again. I was fiddling about editing some stuff, and he properly walloped 2 out. I didn't realise how hard. He was right down, and then he's picked up. So I think that was a bit more impressive than it actually looked. So potentially, but I struggled with this race.
Yeah, and obviously at this point, doing it a little bit of time out, this tends to be the race every year. Like similar to the Ryanair when we touch on that we're not really sure of the targets. This year, the Ryanair's a bit more focused on where things will be going. Fakir Doudra, we obviously mentioned him on the Tuesday. Now, the 5-year-old allowance is exempt in the Arkle. Now, you get none of it, but as they step up in trip, they do get a few pounds. So he'd get £1 from his elders if he came here. But I do think this is probably the trip that he needs to go at, but I don't know whether I'd fancy him. It's one of them that if you've got a strong opinion in one of these races, you could probably do quite well, I think. But it's one of those that I'd be looking to swerve, I reckon.
He's another one of them horses, though, people just aren't particularly latching on to. He hasn't done much wrong, but people just don't. They're not really latching on to him for some reason. But and I think it's because we know he's not the best. He's not the best.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? But we got the Ryanair not straight after, it's the Potemkin in between, but for the purpose of what we're looking at, the grade ones, the Ryanair's the next one we're going to cover. This year looks, well, to be fair, year after year it tends to get a little bit better. It's more better class horses are coming in, but finally we get to see Min running in the Ryanair. That's brilliant for me. And a Plutard coming in here, obviously beat Chacun Pessoir earlier this season. It looks to me like a really, really hot renewal of the Ryanair. I'm struggling to get away from either of those two. I cannot see how anything wins outside Min or a Plutard. How do you reckon would be best for me to capitalise on that super stable wise? Do you reckon they'll be in separate pots?
Probably not. No, I would think they would. That's the problem, see, because this is tiered, so they will likely both be in tier 1. So you would. I mean, you can have them both if you want, but I think you're better hedging your bets across spreading them multiple races. So you wouldn't. But yeah, I'm the same. Frodon, they do light him up when they need to light him up. I see Riders of the Storms in there as well, but that was a hard race on Saturday. They were, you know what I mean, they were all legless really, and he wasn't going to win it. I don't think, was he? I don't think he would have won. So
traffic flew over 107 on the exchanges, so he was short in height.
He was in front, wasn't he? He just took off a bit early, but so yeah, top 2, and I think Min's grown up a bit these past few years. Remember when he went to Aintree? Remember that race with Politolog?
Yep.
And it looked like he just did not. He was looking at him, but he just wrinkled past him, and I thought, of a pig really. But he seems he has manned up a bit. If a Plutard 6 years old, that's the worry. He'd be young, and I would be leaning towards Min.
Yep. So I reckon potentially because. There is the worry about Min. He's never won at Cheltenham, and the Plutard thing. I think class-wise he should be winning the race, but there are obviously a couple of question marks about both of those. Good thing is with the Ryanair is that there's lots of established horses that are in here, fan favourites, all those sorts of things. So across the different,
Politolog, isn't it? He's in there.
There'll be stuff at bigger prices, wouldn't there?
Yeah, but I'm saying Politolog, if he went here, for sniffing around, picking up points. I mean, he's always there or thereabouts, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? And you could get, if you get 12 runners, you get 4 places. So he would be sniffing around there at 4 places. St Calvados, if he came here as well. So this is one where it maybe would pay to look a bit further down as well to pick up your tier 4s. This would be a nice race for your tier 4s because you get a lot of good horses going in here. You maybe want to look at ones that they thought might have been a Gold Cup horse, but it hasn't worked out. I don't know if she'll go here, but Shattered Love.
That's where she's
that was the gold. That was a Gold Cup horse they were saying. Was it start of last season? Didn't work out. And this is a kind of Road to Respect. He was that kind of horse, and he came here and things like that. I think she'd be worth for it. She'll be in a tier 4, and she'd be worth. Yeah.
And Bristol Demise is another one that almost fits that profile too. He's not a Gold Cup.
Will he go?
Love it if they stuck him.
Yeah.
They won't.
Yeah.
I'd love it if they did.
This would suit him better, but I think they're going to go. You know what? The Twistons are like they go for it. Fair play to them. And he is only 9 now, so they can come back to this next year.
Yeah,
have another crack at it. Because again, it's one of those Gold Cups. It's the same as Champion Hurdle. It is very open.
Yeah, so. Too true. The Stayers Hurdle is the main event on the Thursday. This will be a completely different take, I would imagine, given the fact that Paisley Park is a short-priced odds-on favourite. You talked about the bonus because it's odds on. You won't be getting any bonus from. Well, is that for the price? You don't get anything extra because it's odds on.
No, so Paisley Park when he wins the Stayers Hurdle, you will get 270 points. It's your 90 points times 3. But now this is the important bit. This is exclusive Cheltenham information. You are wasting a credit if you put him in your stable at the start of the competition.
Okay.
Because he's not running until the Thursday. That is what you use a transfer for. You get out one of your stable stars that you've had running. Ideally, you'd have a stable star Tuesday. You transfer it out, bang in one Wednesday. Then you put Paisley Park in. If he's in your stable at the start of the competition, you're playing the game wrong. But he will be. I can almost guarantee he'll be one of the most popular selections throughout the Fantasy Cheltenham. But I wouldn't be having him in the stable on day one.
That's a good way of looking at it. And then if we were going to be looking at anything for value outside of it, there obviously are some bigger price horses in here. I'm struggling really to find anything. Emmerton and Somerville Boy, they've both done it quite nicely the last. I know Somerville Boy was beaten by Paisley.
Likes Cheltenham though, Somerville Boy.
That's it. I just feel like they're maybe too well found in the market now that I think that not really a threat to Paisley because Paisley's going to win, but maybe to take up the places, it may pay to look a bit further down the field. Willie Mullins has said Bacardis is going to come here, so he was there or thereabouts a few years ago when he fell in it, but I don't know. I can't find anything, so it's pointless almost bringing it up. But I do feel like there could be something lurking at a bigger price. And again, with your tiers and your layers that's down there, there's more horses you've got to put in, and they might be something in the stairs that's worth poking in. So if we were looking at a horse that was only going to come second, let's say a 20-1 shot came second in the stairs, how many points would that equate to?
Second at 20-1, you would get 80 points for the second. To be the races are tiered as well, so 90 points for the Group 1, 80 points for coming second, and you get 5 bonus points for the 20-1. So it goes, they go up in sections as well. So that's what I'm saying. The tier 4 is very important because if you're getting ones, they're going to be the ones that are a bit pricey. So if you're nicking 5 bonus points out of each of them races rather than nicking 3 bonus points out of each of them races, that's when you start to sneak up the leaderboard, and then you bag in your stable star.
Paisley Park.
Yeah, that's it. Boom.
Beautiful. So that's
what I'm saying. It's just to try and make it. I used to have stable jockeys, but then I switched. I thought, you know what? I want to try this tier sort of process. And I only started it this season, and it's quite an exciting way of doing it because so that's the way I'll be doing it from every season as well. Like the season league, we have it in chasers, hurdlers, and it's impossible to know who's going where, and it all gets mixed up as the season goes. So now it's just going to be done in tiers all the time. A lot more. It's probably like the way they do in fantasy football as well.
Yeah, it's much better the way that it is now, to be honest. Nothing wrong with the way it was before, but it's just nice in this instance because you get to, we all do it. Well, especially when it comes to Cheltenham, there'll be a few at bigger prices that we fancy a little bit, but we know they're probably not going to be winning. But you're forced, you're forced to select them in your tier 4. It's not as if you've got a tier 4 where they're all 50-1 poach. You don't fancy any of them. There will always be horses in each tier. And the beauty of when it comes to Cheltenham is you actually struggle to whittle them down in those pots. It makes you realise how many you do fancy.
And the thing is as well, it won't be full fields as well. So there'll actually be horses under the tier 4 reserves. So I always leave a few reserves. So if something comes out, you do get it replaced. So the downside on that is if you've got someone in pot 2 that comes out, it will be replaced by the next horse in that race. So that's the only downside of the tiering process. You could lose one from 2 and get in one that would be in pot 4.
But the beauty
then you're getting more points.
In the main at Cheltenham, though, we don't get too many of them, do we? Because they've got 40-hour decks.
Exactly.
You don't get too many of that, so it's not too much of a problem here, I would hope. So Friday kicks off with the JCB Triumph Hurdle. It's a quite open renewal this year. The betting suggests that as well. And we've had Goshin and All Mankind that are unbeaten horses this season. Aspire Tower's only beaten because he fell, probably. I think he would have maybe won the Spring Juvenile. But we're really struggling to find a real clear favourite in the race. They've got the Adonis that's going to be happening this weekend at Kempton, so maybe there's something that comes out of that. Solo for Paul Nicholls has been supported. Fujimoto Fly has been back from 50s into about 16s at this time. From the super stable perspective, I guess we're not going to have anything in the sort of banker pot from this race, are we?
No, will it actually? No, because it'll be the Albert Bartlett's going to have the star horse. So this is just going to be standard, and it's tricky because you had All Mankind. The form hasn't worked out there.
Not so well, no.
Goshen he's not got any sort of graded race form. What you're saying about Fujimoto Flyer coming back to the stats. Again, you got to give leeway to some stats, but no horse that ran on the flat has won this that wasn't rated 80 or above. He was rated 72. So then you've got to look to if your stats angle. If you good, I like A Wave of the Sea. Battle hardened, tough. I would think if he came here, I think he might pick up points. The Sir Psycho, I think that runs the Sir Psycho run at Kempton at the weekend. Am I right?
Yeah, it's got some entries up. Yeah, but I think it may be one of those horses for Paul Nicholls that they might see what happens with this Solo. Maybe I know it's with different ownership, but but
Solo's having his first run as well. So they'd be 2 that you'd be looking at in maybe pots 3 Potts 3 maybe, Away Over the Sea, Sir Psycho. But again, as you say, we don't know who's going to be in yet. But Away Over the Sea, I would potentially, if I was to pick one for my stable in this, I'd be picking Away Over the Sea. I just can't, and you can see these ones come into this and then they get found out. It's a different kettle of fish. And All Mankind, again, I know I said about the layoff, but he's hasn't been out this year. The form hasn't really been frank. It's not like they've kept the superstar away. So, and Aspire Tower, as I said, I'm not mad keen on horses that have, are coming in on the back of a fall.
Absolutely.
And I know Away Over the Sea won that race, but he was rated 86 in the flat. So again, he ticks in the boxes there. But I'm just a bit coming in onto the back of a fall into a race. It touches me a bit, especially at Cheltenham, because they're not going to be plodding around. It's going to be on this. You can't get away with it. So
absolutely, yeah. And this is probably an interesting race as well, because there will be horses at bigger prices. Away Over the Sea definitely is probably too big a price for the fact that he won the Spring Juvenile. But there'll be some bigger horses at bigger prices that we don't know if they're all going to turn up or not, because there's only so much time they might be able to get a run in beforehand. But this would definitely be looking at one if you were struggling for a few points. Even something like Away Over the Sea, if it did go off about the 12-1 mark, you'd probably score quite well on that one.
This will be a heavy bonus point race. This one, and I would think the Albert Bartlett as well. They're going to be ones where you're going to be able to find ones from the Tier 4s, Tier 3. I'll tell you what, these two probably Tier 3, Tier 4s, you're going to find something come in, and it's not going to be unimaginable that a horse will win it from Tier 2 or Tier 3, these ones. So these could be... I'm sitting here saying, I'd maybe avoid it. But as you said there, these could be quite important races on the Friday. It's always going to be important, but these could be high-scoring races.
Absolutely. And we tend to think that the handicaps might be the ones that spit out the big price winners, but we know historically the Albert Bartlett has been chucking out monster price ones. And they've all been, I think they've all been relatively okay to find. I didn't put up Manella Rindo last year. I didn't put any write-ups then. I had to do a quick video because I was struggling with time, but I did give it a good shout at the prices. It's one of them that it was second behind what was a horse vying for favouritism in Allaho. You could make excuses for why it did that. So there will be horses at big prices in the Albert Bartlett that will be in your lower tiers that will go in there, and you could end up having probably 2 or 3 darts in an Albert Bartlett because you've got so many tiers in there. Is there anything at a big price in the Albert Bartlett that you've got your eye on at the moment, or not really?
Again, as you're saying, we're not 100% sure who's going to go where. Rams de Tele, he's not good enough to win it, but he could snip. We're talking at a points perspective. So if he went there, I know he's got entries elsewhere, I think, isn't he? But from a points perspective, he'll be down there, tiers 3, tiers 4. Easy Work. What are we thinking about Easy Work?
I think he's going to go Ballymore.
Right. So that's the
but it is hard.
You've got Giggins House. They're all over the place. You've got that. You've got what's that one I just passed there? Run Wild Fred.
Yeah.
They're 60 to 1. They're not massive prices, but this race can chuck them up at huge. You can get big price winners. Remember the one? Campbell Gillies or I don't think it was a massive price, but what was that one again? The Scottish horse.
Oh, you're kidding me! I can't remember.
They both sadly died, didn't they? Can't remember.
I've had the last 6 or 7 of these before that little spell, but we could end up having a year this year where Time Hill, he looks like he's.
I like Time Hill. This is the same as a lot of the other races. You know what? Time Hill is a worthy favourite, but there's nothing comes. When you get to some of these races, there is something that's going.
Yeah, I just think as well with the Albert Bartlett, because I tend to. I'll have a few little steps through the season anti-post anyway, but the Albert Bartlett is one of those races that I'm confident that you can leave it until the morning if you want. You don't need to make your mind up.
Don't have any horses in your stable on any of these races until the Friday. You don't have any so. You want to be sticking them in as the week goes on. Obviously, you might be able to use credits from the Wednesday, sticking from the Friday, but you don't want to have these in open day. So as you said, I would be keeping my credits till the day, have a look what they've got. Because Harry Senior, he's won 9 to 1. You said he might be coming here, didn't you? So as I said, I'd be waiting till the day. And you can chuck a couple of darts at it if you wanted. This one and the JCB Triumph.
And again, we were saying before in the earlier part of it that if you're starting to maybe chase some points or you feel like you're miles behind and you haven't got a chance, you've still got a chance. The Friday normally chucks up the biggest price horses anyway. Yeah. Like we say, Manila Indo was 50s last year. We've had 25-1 winners of it, all that sort of stuff. But do we think...
Jan Dilly? Was it Jan Dill?
He's interesting because Willie Mullins has said that he wants to run him in this race. He's only run over 2 miles over hurdles, but he looks pretty good. And the fact that Willie Mullins is trying to get him to go here, doesn't know what JP's plans will be with the handicaps. I think on his rating, he'll be too high to go in a handicap. He would be very interested in Albert Bartlett, but we just don't know where they're going to go yet.
Exactly. This is especially this one because this is like there's so many in this every year anyway. So this is always a hard one to try and filter through before you get there.
But the Gold Cup, the feature race of the Friday, the feature race of the festival, arguably, because I do like the Gold Cup, don't get me wrong, but there's a couple of other races I prefer ahead of it. But it looks like a really decent renewal this year. Do you think there's any chance of a big price shock winner in here, or do you think it comes from the front of the market?
I think there's so many in this. This is all the bar the champion chase. We're giving it between the two of them, Altior or Deffy. Paisley Park wins the stairs, but this is a champion hurdle. They're open this year. Lost in Translation was the one everyone was latching on to, and he just hasn't gone forward. Not a massive price, but again, you're going on the fact that he maybe doesn't like Cheltenham, but Clan de Zobo, what he did in the King George this year, so he would be he'd probably, I think he'd be tier 3 to be tier 2 or tier 3. He'll be in tier 2 probably. So that's not a bad one to be sticking in because obviously you're taking your top ones. I think Album Photo or Santini, one of those two will be your stable in the stable star pot.
Yeah.
So they'll be your pot ones with Delta work. So yeah, Candace Oba, he'll be in a tier 2. So that would be a nice one to sniff in. We've got Chris's Dream again, but he's not ended up elsewhere, wasn't he?
He's possibly ended up elsewhere, but they have mentioned that they've never travelled with him, and I don't know whether they are going to bring him over this year.
He may not come, right?
I don't know whether he comes, but yeah, it would be an interesting one at a bigger price, wouldn't he? Henry de Bromhead has got Monolly that he's always harped on about wanting 3 miles. He said this season's gone nicely to plan. He ran quite well over Christmas, although he was beaten by Delta Work. It was only beaten ahead. I honestly don't think this horse stays, but Henry de Bromhead knows more than I do. He's probably the only one at a big price I'd be slightly interested in. I'm just so excited because I think Album Photo's got a genuine chance. I think
you know what? He's the first one you put. Usually I'll put a line because the Gold Cup. Right, okay, I can't win that again. Again, he hasn't. This has been the plan, I think. well, since January. They have not kept him away since January because something's been wrong. He's being by Kemper. He hasn't gone on. I think Album Photos. Yeah. The more closer we get, it's annoying me. He won it so well, and I've got this Album Photo mask that I have my hot chocolate in at work, and this is the day it gets closer. I'm thinking he would be my stable star for day 5.
And the thing is as well, he obviously last year he had the same preparation. He ran in that one race, 2 mile 5, I think it is, and then he came to Cheltenham. It worked for Willie Mullins. Willie Mullins still hasn't won the champion chase, but this was the first time he won a Gold Cup. Maybe it's the case of, like Buses, was waiting for one, and now he's found the horse that's going to go and do it back to back for him. I think he's got a serious chance. I think he looks better this year than last year, but he might have to be. I think this probably looks like a better renewal. Santini's definitely got a chance. He's always looked like a Gold Cup horse, but I'd have to just line through. If he doesn't win the Gold Cup this year, you got to just cut your losses with that horse. He's not going to be the Cheltenham Festival winner. Delta Works definitely got a chance, but have to
he was top of my list going into the Dublin Racing Festival, but it's a bit less of a spark than I was expecting, and that's why I'm now leaning towards Album Photo.
But it's just so competitive, and obviously Ken Boy last year, it looked like that was his year. He could still be the horse that's capable of doing it. I know people
have been saying all season, he's going to get there, this is the one where he's going to get there, this is one. Maybe maybe he was just a really good. He's not bad, but maybe he's just really good at 7. Do you know what I mean? Some horses aggressive. Remember Long Run?
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm not saying he's bad, but I think I'd be surprised if he won a Gold Cup this year.
Absolutely.
Having said that, he'll be in pot 4. So Ken Boy in pot 4.
Yes, and that's the beauty of it, because in traditional tipping thing or anything like that, you feel obliged to just have one in a race, or some competitions you can only put one in a race. The way that you filter the tiers out, there could be 3 horses in here. We've talked about plenty in here already. You can get away with putting a couple of them in here potentially.
Exactly, and it's because it narrows. It's obviously he'll be a pot 3 or a pot 4. It depends what comes out, but then obviously it'll try and match in with your grade 3s and grade 4. So it's almost like a handicap rating sort of thing. So you'll get horses like him. You'll get Presenting Percy down there as well in a pot 4. Presenting Percy now, if he got his act together, I can't see it, but points again. He's not going to be short, is he? So that's what you've got to look for.
He was obviously sent off 7-2 favourite for the race last year, wasn't he? And he's actually had runs this year, whereas last year he came in there.
Exactly. And you know what? That was the best I've seen him go the last day. I think that's maybe why I think the spark came out of Delta Work. Maybe are we downgrading Delta Work? What Delta Work did? Maybe did Kenboy and Presenting Percy perform better? And that was why we weren't so impressed with Delta Work.
We just don't know until 3:40 on Friday.
I can't wait.
But that's pretty much finished up for Friday, I reckon. We've obviously covered the 4 days there, the graded action. There won't just be these horses that will be in the pots that we've mentioned. There'll be other horses that will be dotted about. And obviously there's a way to stagger it. So if you've got any questions or any of that sort of stuff, then Fantasy Super Stable Horse Racing, we've shared stuff on there.
Facebook's the best place. Everything's on the Facebook. You get on the superstable.co.uk. You'll get all this on the website as well. But Facebook's probably the best place to get it.
And it's free.
It's free. £3. Brilliant. Just for fun. I just want folk to enjoy it and get involved and have a laugh. Set up your private leagues if you want with your friends, your colleagues. Take part in the main league as well, and just have a bit of fun. Free fun. If you've done your nuts in on the first day, super stable. You know what? You could actually have no points at the end of the first day technically and still win it. That's how the competition works as well. And the ITV7, if you lose the first race, you're out. So there you go. That's
absolutely, and that's the beautiful thing of this as well. The fact that it's staggered over the 4 days.
Yeah, you've still got a chance.
Play it different, can't you? Depending on how you've got on. It can't all be sort of one on the earlier days, but it's just a really decent way of playing it and a different way of going in. And you do this all out of the kindness of your heart. You get nothing for it. It's just nice to be sharing passionate horse racing talk with someone that's passionate about horse racing. Yeah. That's what we're all about. So, yeah, that's going to wrap up this particular video. Thank you, Allan, for doing all you do, not just coming on this video, but thanks for all the other stuff you do as well. It's really good content.
Thanks for what you do, David. You're banging out this sweet content and, you know what I mean, just making new friends in racing. That's what we should all be doing, getting together, everybody joining in and just getting ready for the biggest week of the year, boys, because this is boys and girls, because this is it.
So close, isn't it? Right, well, I'm going to wrap it up there.
But I'm away to watch Horses and Heroes. I got my Horses and Heroes DVD, so I'm off. Right. Good night.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Bye.